it's Jen. Welcome back, or welcome to Bookish Blonde. Thanks for stopping in today. I am so excited. Today we're going to talk about some Q1 anticipated releases that I am very excited about. Now, I will say it is the end of January when you're seeing this, so some of these titles that I'll talk about are already out at your bookstores, available for purchase, which is exciting. But yeah, I'm trying to keep my number down this year of new releases that I buy and bring into my home, but it sure is hard when so many of these sound so good. So I'm hoping to utilize my library a lot to kind of try some of these out and see if there's something that I feel like I need to purchase. So, all right, let's get started. I have about 30 books to talk about today. Q1 is January, February, March. I will go ahead and link all the titles I talk about down below, and I will be posting up some covers so you guys can see what the books look like. I don't own these yet. A couple I do, but for the most part, I don't have them yet, right? They're not released. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started. The first book I want to talk about today, it came out on January 2nd. It's First Lie by Ashley Elston. Now, I have never read anything by Ashley Elston before, so I'm excited for a new-to-me thriller author to check out. It's got a lot of buzz, a lot of great reviews already. Reese's Book Club has picked it up. It's rumored to maybe be picked up by Hulu as well, which is really exciting. So this story, you're following Evie Porter, who lives in the South, and she's living a pretty good life, has a boyfriend, great neighbors, great house. The only catch is that Evie Porter is a made-up identity. She doesn't really exist. So we're following her. She gets instruction from her boss, who is also a mystery. She gets told which town to go visit and which neighbors to watch, and we're not sure exactly what she really does for a living, what the purpose of this is. And so yeah, that's all I want to know. I don't like to go into my mystery thrillers with too much information. I don't ever want to get spoiled for anything, so that's all I want to know. I'll pick it up, I'll check it out. So that sounds great. January 9th, there was a book came out by Rachel Hawkins called The Heiress. I do have this one on Kindle. I got an early arc of it from NetGalley. Have I read it though? No, I have not. But I will be picking it up sooner rather than later because I have read The Wife Upstairs and The Villa by her, and although they were very different, I loved both of them. I know some people didn't love The Villa, but it worked for me. I appreciate her characters and their inner monologue. That I think they're funny. I connect with them, and I just love the way she writes a story. I love it. So but in The Heiress, we are following Ruby, who's one of the richest women in North Carolina. She's also very notorious. She was a victim of a kidnapping when she was younger, and she is a widow 4 times over. And all of her husbands have died really mysteriously. So just that alone has me intrigued. I've read, it's been coined as, murder mystery meets 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That's a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. And so you kind of follow the story about what happened to her husbands. She wants to give her fortune and her estate away to her adoptive son, but her adoptive son wants nothing to do with it. And so we find out why is that. So yeah, pick that one up. That sounds amazing. I've heard good things. All right, on January 16th, I have this one as well. I'll just pop up the cover because it's upstairs. I don't want to go get it. But The Fury by Alex Michaelides. So this was a Book of the Month pick. I know Book of the Month is great about coming out with new releases ahead of time. So I went out and took advantage of that. I love The Silent Patient. When I read that, that was 5 stars. However, I was the unpopular opinion. The Maidens was 3 stars for me. I couldn't get on board. I just didn't like it. But this one sounds really promising. I want to give them another try. It takes place in the Greek islands, group of friends. There's a murder. There's some romance. I've heard it has it's a unique story, unique writing. And it's been coined as a story unlike any you've ever heard. So that's all I want to know. Definitely going to be picking that up. Let's just, rather than repeat myself, just assume I'm going to try to pick up all of these. That's why they're on this list. I'm excited about them. All right, the next one that came out on January 16th, I have as well from Book of the Month, Only If You're Lucky by Stacy Willingham. Now, I think this is her 3rd book. I have read All the Dangerous Things and A Flicker in the Dark. They were both 4 and 5 stars for me. So this was another auto like pickup, no questions asked. But in Only If You're Lucky, we're following two girls, Lucy and Margot. They meet in college and they room together with some other girls outside of campus. A frat boy next door gets brutally murdered and one of the girls goes missing. I've heard it's a psychological suspense, and that's all I want to know. So check that one out. All right, the 23rd, we have No One Can Know by Cate Alice Marshall. So this will be coming out just about the time you guys are seeing this. I read Wet Lies in the Woods by this author, which was her debut adult book. She has written a lot of YA, and I really enjoyed it. I can't remember if I gave it 4 or 5 stars, but it was great. But in this one, No One Can Know, we follow a lady named Emma. She's married and has a child or two, I can't remember. Her parents died, and she's estranged from her sister. So life happens. She hits rock bottom. Her husband loses his job. They lose their apartment, and she finds out she's pregnant. So she has no money. They don't know what to do at this point. She can't sell her parents' estate, but she can live in it. So they live in her parents' estate. Turns out the parents' estate is where they were killed at the house. So you follow the story, and you're cracking open family secrets, and that's all I'm going to read about that one. The Clinic by Kate Quinn, Kate with a C, not to be confused with Kate Quinn, the historical fiction writer. This one sounds really good. The setting is what sold me when I heard about this one. It takes place on the Pacific Northwest coast in a remote rehab clinic. And so her sister, I believe, is a patient in this clinic, and she dies unexpectedly and mysteriously. And so she goes in as a patient, fakes that she's a patient to try to find out what happened to her sister. That's it. I love books that take place. I love books about sisters. I love books about twins. And I love books that take place in mental health, like mental hospitals or insane asylums. They just creep me out. And I think they're unsettling. And I usually love that premise. So excited about that one. January 30th, we have House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. And that is book 3 in the Crescent City series. I do own the first one. I still have not read it, but it's on one of my goals this year is to start that series. So I don't want to go into much detail about that, but it's a fantasy, has romance, suspense, a lot of action, and I've heard great things about the series. It comes really highly rated and recommended. So if you are ready to pick up book 3, it's coming out on the 30th. Check it out. But the last one for January I want to talk about comes out the 30th as well, and it's Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. Now this one sounds intriguing because I just finished Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and spoiler alert, I loved it. And so this one we're taking place on, it's like another secluded mystery. It takes place on a train, and there's 6 mystery writers that are on their way to a writing retreat, and one of them ends up dead. So you have 5 suspects, and they all should know how to get away with murder, write a murder, and hopefully solve a murder. So you follow that story and find out, who's dead and who did it. So that one sounds really good. And let's get to February. I think I have 11 or 12 to talk about in February. So February, we're going to start off with February 6th. First one I want to talk about is Nightwatching by Tracey Sierra. Now, I've never heard of her before. This one, I think I saw it on Instagram, an Instagram reel or something, but it's supposed to be a gripping, suspenseful novel surrounded around paranoia and mental health. We have a mom who is trying to protect her children from an intruder that breaks into their house. Now I have 3 kids. I'm a mom. This is my worst fear is my husband is gone and someone breaks in my house and I have to protect my kids. So it's going to be unsettling, but I'm going to read it. So Nightwatching by Tracey Sierra sounds great. Another one on the 6th, which everyone probably is already aware, but Kristin Hannah, the queen of historical fiction, as I like to call her, is coming out with a book called The Women. She's an auto-buy author for me. I would like to read her Backlist to Zero. I have read a lot by her, but this is going to be probably another emotional and provoking story. This one centers around the Vietnam War and the aftermath of that. So I'm excited to read about that. You read a lot of World War II historical fiction, but I haven't read a lot of Vietnam War. So this is going to be a new one for me. But you're following a 20-year-old nursing student who joins the Army Nurse Corps to follow her brother who enlists to fight. And you follow them during the war and also the aftermath of the war. So you're probably going to get the 1960s politics in there as well. So it sounds really great. Can't wait to get my hands on that one. I'm sure there's going to be themes of friendship, courage, resiliency, all the great things that she likes to give us. The next one on the 6th is Everyone Who Can Forgive Me Is Dead by Janie Hollander. Another author that will be a first for me. I haven't read her before, but this one is another mystery thriller that explores trauma. It kind of blurs the lines between truth and perception. We are following Charlie, and she is a witness to some violent, horrible event. And so she tries to rebuild her life. She's working in the publishing industry and never wants to let her guard down again. But then the tagline says, what if everything you knew about the worst night of your life turns out not to be true? So that's all I want to know going in. Don't want to know anything more. Sounds intriguing. I've never read anything that has that premise. So I'm excited for that one. How many times should we start a counter on how many times I say I'm excited for that one? We obviously know I'm excited about all of these, or else they wouldn't be in this video. All right, moving on. Okay, the next one that I want to talk about, coming out again on February 6th, it's a big release day, is 14 Days by the Authors Guild. So this is a story that takes place in the Lower East Side in early COVID-19 lockdown days. You have quirky neighbors that are gathering on the rooftop to tell their stories. And the kind of cool thing about this one is each character in this book is written by a different major literary author. So and I don't think you know which author writes each character. So it'd be interesting to see if you can figure it out. But some of these authors in here, Margaret Atwood, Douglas Preston, Celeste Ng, Emma Donoghue, John Grisham, Diana Gabaldon. Some of these I'm not familiar with, but there's a lot. Sylvia Day, R.L. Stine. I mean, are you kidding me? There's so many. Neil Gaiman, Candace Bushnell, Nora Roberts, Tommy Orange, and more. Like, it keeps going. So that alone, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be one long story, if it's short stories. That's a little unclear to me, but either way, I'm definitely checking this one out because that sounds amazing. Okay, moving on to February 13th, we have Something New by John Maas. Very anticipated. I really enjoy John Maas books. The One and What Lies Between Us? Yes, What Lies Between Us. I 5-star love both of those. Highly recommend both of those. But this one is called The Stranger in Her House. I own Keep It in the Family. Haven't read that one yet. So now I'm going to have 2 by him that I need to check out. But in The Stranger in the House, we're following an elderly widow, Gwen, and she's needing some help. And the tagline says, a stranger has infiltrated your family, and now he's taking over. Don't want to know anymore. Pick it up. Yes, please. I'm going to read that one. Another one on the 13th of February is The Fox Wife by Yangsze Choo. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. She wrote The Night Tiger. It was very hyped. I didn't love it. I was kind of the unpopular opinion. It was just okay for me. I unhauled it off my shelves. But this is going to be another magical and mysterious story by her. We are having some Chinese folklore in this, which sounds really intriguing. There's going to be themes of revenge and grief and murder. Basically, there's a mom who is trying to investigate her son's murder. And in this Chinese folklore, they believe that the fox can take on human spirits, I believe. So it sounds a little bit different, but something I definitely want to check out. Another one on the 13th is The Warm Hands of Ghost by Katherine Arden. So this is a historical novel. There's going to be speculative fiction in this. It follows a combat nurse from World War I who goes searching for, I believe, her brother. Katherine Arden, she wrote the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy, which is very popular and loved by many, and it just sounds interesting, and I love the cover as well. So that's another historical fiction one that's not World War II, World War One. So that sounds pretty cool. Okay. February 13th again, The Phoenix Crown. This one is by Cate, Quinn, and Janie. Is it Janie or Janie Chang? Another historical mystery. My favorite part of historical fiction is historical mystery. I love them. So we're intertwining here two different women, their lives. They come from very different backgrounds. And as they're navigating through their past, they're also searching for a legendary relic. That's all I want to know. It takes place in San Francisco, around the San Francisco earthquake of, I think, 1906, if I'm correct. And it also, the story spans all the way to Versailles as well. So, sounds pretty cool. Okay, moving on to the 20th of February, we have The Hidden Life of Cecilia Larson by Ellen Baker. That is a mouthful of a name, of a title. But this is going to be... It's tagged as Orphan Train meets Before We Were Yours meets Water for Elephants. And I loved all three of those books. So this is definitely going to be something that I am highly anticipating that I will enjoy. We're following a 4-year-old Cecily, and she's dropped off in 1924 by her mother to an orphanage in Chicago. And you're following her life. She joins the circus. This emotional story about self-discovery. You have another timeline, 2015, where Cecily is living with her granddaughter and her great-grandson, and some results of a DNA test start bringing to light a tragic love story that has been hidden from the family for decades. So I feel like that one's going to sweep me away. I'm excited for that one. February 20th, next one, End of Story by A.J. Finn. Now, we haven't gotten anything from A.J. Finn in a long time. The last one, I believe, was The Woman in the Window, which was very hyped. It was made into a movie. Did not like the movie, but I loved the book when I read it. I don't know if I would love it as much now if I read it now, but when I read it back then, I thought it was great, 5 stars. And in this one, Sebastian Trapp is who we're following. He is a reclusive mystery novelist who is at the end of his life, and he hires a friend, a long-term correspondent who's an expert in detective fiction to help him write his life story. 20 years prior, Sebastian's wife and teenage son both went missing at the same time from 2 different places, and so you kind of discover what happened to him, and you're following that mystery. So, sounds great. Don't want to know more. Okay, the last one in February that I'm looking forward to, I've already pre-ordered this book, and it is Empire of the Damned. It's book number 2. The first one was Empire of the Vampire. It's written by Jay Kristoff. I love books about vampires. They're always a hit for me, and this one is highly anticipated because I love the first one. You got horror, fantasy, you're following vampires. It's brutal, it's bloody, it's a saga that's continuing. I don't want to give anything away, so I'm going to leave it there, but it is coming out on the 29th. So if you read the first one, get excited because it's finally we get a second book in that saga, in that series. All right, this brings us to March. March 5th. We have 6 books coming out on March 5th. What a huge release day that I am very excited about. Looking forward to it. So the first one I want to talk about is Murder Road by Simone St. James. Now, everything I've read by Simone St. James has been 5 stars for me. Another author, I want to read her backlist to 0. I will just buy anything she writes. And this one we're following takes place in 1995, and we have a couple that is on their way to a small remote town for their honeymoon. They take a wrong turn. They end up picking up a hitchhiker, and he ends up dying. And you kind of follow the story from there. They're not sure what's going on in this strange town. It's a horror book, mystery thriller? Is it a supernatural thing going on? We don't know. I don't care. Yes, please. I'm going to pick it up. All right, another one on the 5th. Finley Donovan Rolls the Dice by Elle Cosimano. This is book number 4 in her Finley Donovan series. Number one, the first one I gave 5 stars. Books 2 and 3 I gave 4 stars. They weren't quite as good as the first one, but they are all entertaining. You will laugh out loud. You just you kind of eye roll a little bit, but you're very entertained and it's great. So in this, I think this might be the last one, but I'm not sure. But this is book number 4. And again, you're going to get romance, humor, mystery, all of it. You're following Vero and Finley. They are partners in crime. This one takes place in Atlantic City. They go for a girls' weekend. I don't want to say anything else in case you haven't read the other books, but I mean, another no-brainer. Gonna pick it up. Okay. The next one, March 5th, is The New Couple in 5B by Lisa Unger. I only read one other book by her, but I enjoyed it. It was something, I forget the name of it. I'll pop it up right here. But this one we're following Rosie and Chad. And Chad's late uncle leaves them a luxurious apartment in historic part of New York City. And they move in, they're loving it, they're meeting a lot of nice neighbors, very eclectic neighbors, a lot of stories. But then things start getting weird. There might be they're noticing there's cameras everywhere. They're hearing about past crimes that have taken place in the building. And that's all I want to know. So everything takes a turn for the worst. And you follow the story. Okay, the next one in March 5th is Coyote Lost and Found. This is by Dan Guyman-Hart. I think I'm saying that right. And I read last year for middle grade March, The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise. And I loved it. I cried. It was so heartwarming. It was so good. So this is kind of a companion novel to that. You're following the same characters. It's another road trip. The first one had a road trip, and that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to ruin the first one, but I can't imagine anyone not enjoying this book. So if you have a heart in your body, you'll like that book. So pick that one up. All right. March 5th, another one, next one, a couple more for March 5th. March 5th, we have Bye Baby by Carla Lovering. This is another book that takes place in New York. An infant goes missing. I've been told to avoid the blurb. Don't read anything about this book. It gives away too much. Just go into it blind. But basically, we have a friendship, we have secrets, we have lies, we have a missing infant. And I also heard it would make a really good book club selection. So anyone who has book clubs out there, maybe look into that for your book club. Sounds great. Last one on the 5th is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. And I read Before I Let Go a couple years ago, and it was the 4.5 or 5 stars for me. I loved that book and loved the writing because it's a romance, but it has some weight to it. You're following characters that are in their 30s. It's not a teenage love story. And I really enjoyed that one. It felt real. It felt like it could really be a true story. It hit hard. It was hard hitting, and I really enjoyed it. So this one we're following Soledad. She has her life all planned out. I'm going to read this. This is from the blurb. She's a domestic goddess who never met a party she couldn't host or lead. So she builds the life with the man who's supposed to be her forever, and then everything is ruined by betrayal and disillusion, and she starts to rebuild her life. And you follow it from there. Sounds really good. I have high expectations because of that first book I read by her. So we shall see. All right, a few more, you guys. March 19th, we have Expiration Dates by Rebecca Searle. Comes out March 19th. I have read 2 books by this author. In 5 Years was 5 stars for me, and One Italian Summer, which was her most recent release till this one, and I only gave that like 3 or 3.5 stars. Unpopular opinion on that one, but with Rebecca Searle, you're gonna get a love story. It's not always romantic love. I know in One Italian Summer it was a love between a mother and daughter, but you're gonna get magical realism, speculative fiction, which I really enjoy both of those. And in this one, it sounds so good, you guys. She receives a paper every time she meets a man, and the paper, and it's coming from the universe. Again, there's that speculative piece of it, and there's a name on the paper and an expiration date of how much time to the exact day that they are going to spend together. So one day she meets a man named Jake, and she gets a paper and there's no expiration date on it. So it's going to be warm and romantic. It's going to be emotional, and it's going to be a gripping love story. Can't wait for that one. Okay, next on the 19th, this one is Good Half Gone by Tarryn Fisher. Now, I've only read 2 books by Tarryn Fisher. I've heard she's not for everyone. I read I Can Be a Better You and gave that 4 stars, and I read Mudvayne and gave it, I think, 3 stars. So I'm hoping this is a 5-star one, because something about Tarryn Fisher's writing really, her premises sound great, her writing draws me in, so I'm excited. This one I have high hopes for, because you're following twin sisters, Heiress and Piper, and like I mentioned earlier, I love books about twins. I think they're fascinating, and I love books with sisters in it. So it's probably going to have a dark, messed up twist to this one. So many years ago, when you pick up, you have a flashback of Heiress sees Piper kidnapped. No one believes her. The case goes cold. And then you fast forward. Now Heiress is an adult and she wants proof. So she takes matters into her own hands. She ends up traveling to an isolated Shoal, S-H-O-A-L, am I saying that right? Shoal Island Hospital for the criminally insane. I heard it's a wild ride. It's going to be thrilling and gripping, and going in knowing not much else. Okay, on this 26th of March, I have the last 3 I'm going to talk about. Okay, on the 26th, we have The Trail of Lost Hearts by Tracey Graves. I am highly anticipating this one because I have read 3 books by her. They've all been great. My favorite one by her is On the Island. It's one of my all-time favorite romance books. You have an age gap romance. I gave that 5 stars, and I highly recommend that to a lot of people. The Girl He Used to Know, I read a couple years ago. It was another 5 stars. And then in 2021 was the last book we got from her. Heard It in a Love Song. That one was 3 or 4 stars. Didn't like it as much as the other 2, but I kept it on my shelves, and good recommendation for people. This one, we're following Wren Walter. She's a 34-year-old, which I appreciate. So I feel like we're going to have a romance with some substance in it. And she has 2 life-altering blows that she doesn't see coming. And so you're following her as she's trying to figure out how to get out of bed in the morning, how to get out of her head. So it takes place in Oregon, and she kind of picks up geocaching. It's the only thing that's really working for her to kind of get her mind and try to get back on track with her life. She meets Marshall Hendricks, and he also is going through his own stuff, and they meet. You're following them. It's a road trip. I love books with a road trip in it, and that's all I want to know. Okay, 2 more on March 26th, and then that brings us to the end of my Q1 anticipated new releases. We have Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkoff. She's another mystery thriller writer. I have read a couple by her and enjoyed them. She's very popular. A lot of people that read her, I've heard great things. So this one sounds amazing. We got 5 contestants that are competing for $10 million on a game show called One Lucky Winner. And it takes place in a secluded estate in North Carolina. They aren't allowed to leave. They aren't allowed to have any contact with the outside world. And that's where you pick up. I'm sure there's lies, secrets, there's probably murder. There might be a love affair. Who knows? I don't care. I'm reading it. And then the last one of March I want to talk about today is March 26th again, How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristin Perrin. This one is for fans of, I've heard of Thursday Murder Club and Knives Out. It's going to be another fun mystery about a woman who spends her whole life trying to prevent her foretold murder, only to be proven right as she's murdered 60 years later. So you pick up, and her great niece is trying to figure out how to catch the killer of her great aunt. And sounds fun. It's by Kristin Perrin. Never read her before, so another new to me author I'm excited for. So that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I know this was a longer video. Again, there's probably some books that I forgot to mention. So if there's anything that you're really excited about that I didn't talk about here, please link it down below. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thanks for stopping in, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.